I'm Keith Wehmeyer. I've been with the park a year, little more than a year and a half, almost 2 years. My position is the maintenance and transportation supervisor. So it's pretty broad. It's everything from, all the park buildings, but also the park road system and the park vehicle and snowmobile fleet and small engines and all the equipment and all that. I started out with a carpentry background. That's how I got into the trades. I've been doing carpentry since I was 17 or 18 years old. I went to work for the Appalachian Mountain Club in my 20s. I was doing a through hike of the Presidential Traverse hike. And I stopped into one of the AMC's high huts, and they had a fundraiser placard in the bathroom for rebuilding that hut. It was a historical, the oldest hut site in the US, and they were doing fundraising to rebuild it. And I was like, wow, as a carpenter, that would be a super cool project to be on. So I wrote a totally cold letter when I got home to be like, how do I get to be a part of this job? And I ended up doing it, quitting my job, breaking up with a girlfriend and going and doing this rebuild with them. And led to me after that to getting full-time with them as a maintenance manager at one of their roadside lodges. And I only had carpentry experience, but I was at that point, I was in charge of their whole heating plant for that building. They had a big wood boiler, and it was a 40-room lodge. So plumbing, electrical, all that, I was kind of supervisor of it. So that's what kind of got me into the more broad building maintenance stuff. Okay. So, and then from there I went more front country, real world jobs of a slopeside ski hotel. I was their maintenance manager, and then to a large developer, I was their project manager and maintenance manager. So I went kind of front country after that. And then, but when this opportunity came up to get back into kind of combine all of that experience of, working in the outdoors at first, but then getting the facility management stuff, was opportunity I couldn't pass up. We're a small maintenance crew. So again, with just diverse skill sets, we all kind of have to fix everything. And it's really, I have a great group of guys to do the work. So really it's just taking it all in from around the park and the people around the park in terms of what the needs are, and just kind of prioritizing and coordinating all those needs to just right down to what needs to be done today. And then from there, I'll start, I'll plan longer term, larger projects and proactive stuff. So there's a piece that's kind of reactionary to the immediate park needs, and then there's a planning piece for, how we're doing stuff going ahead. So it's a fair bit of administrative work, but then if there's a task or something that needs to be fixed that's kind of right in my wheelhouse and skill set, then I'll be hands-on doing that stuff too. Just that it's a little bit of everything. And I think the maintenance crew as a whole is a little more behind the scenes. They're not like the customer facing, park ranger that's out there every single day, but they, they care about the park just as much, as a whole. And they touch every single bit of the park in terms of our department. We're supporting everyone from, the campground ranger, to the forestry up in the SFMA, to research. We're kind of supporting, making sure that everyone can kind of do their jobs and have what they need to support the park. I like that diversity of it. It's never the same thing. And as a whole, when we have a problem or something breaks, we also try and make sure it doesn't happen again. So we're always kind of learning and figuring it out. And it really ends up giving me a broad skill set that I can even take home from work and, take to friends and things like that and be a resource. So I really like the learning of, we're always just figuring out something new. We have a new problem, we need to find a new solution. So it really just keeps it fresh and keeps us learning all the time. Yeah, I think a challenging part about being in the maintenance world is pretty much everything you're dealing with is a problem. So I think it's important to stay kind of glass half full, because I think it could be easy to get negative when things are breaking all the time, whether it's someone's fault or not someone's fault. But the reality is things just break, and that's our job to fix it. So I think the challenge is myself staying positive, and then just making sure that my crew and the people around me stay positive too, even when we're dealing with problems all the time. I'd say kind of the Russell Pond, Wasatacook Valley is my favorite area of the park. Russell Pond, Wasatacook Lake, kind of the area, the center of the park that's a little more away from the Katahdin stuff. I have a 6-year-old daughter, so a lot of it is anywhere that I can share in the park with her, and that sort of thing is an area of the park that I love too. I think with all the jobs in the park, it's important that the visitors I think it's important that everyone remembers how the park got here, and how smart and generous that Governor Baxter was in setting the park up the way he did. With the recreational boom that's happening right now, in the way the park is still somewhat controlled access and controlled numbers, it really shows how amazing the foresight was to preserve the park the way that he did. I think true wilderness areas are harder and harder to find, and I do think that Baxter is one of the rare places that you can still find that, and I think it's important to remember why that is. I think there's a lot of interesting, maybe not a lot of funny, but I think an interesting piece of what maintenance does in the park, because we have this whole road system, and you always need to be adding gravel and all of that. And for the most part, for our road system, all of our materials that we use come from within the park. I think the general public doesn't see it, but we have our own gravel pits where we produce gravel and do it. And it can be, it's an important piece to the overall park because it's preventing bringing in invasives, seeds of an invasive plant in gravel or things like that. So, there's a lot of behind the scenes that folks don't see. And I think it's just, to me, as I started working here, it was really interesting in how much really goes into the whole thing. Just in my line of work, I think it's important to stay super curious in terms of figuring out why things are the way they are, what the problems are. Always just kind of be asking questions and trying to figure out, why is this broken? Why is this engine not running? Why is this building rotting? And just have that curiosity to keep learning all of it. And in terms of the park as a whole, it's just as important in terms of knowing how to do your job, but knowing how to deal with people. We're a super diverse group of employees here coming from all different areas, all with different goals that all center around the park. So just keep an open mind to the different people that you meet and the different people you come across. Realize that everyone's coming from their own place with their own troubles and their own stuff, and we're all just coming together here. So just be nice to the people around you, and work will probably be pretty good.